We're here with Jason Wright, President of the Washington Commanders. Thanks for joining us today, Jason.
My pleasure, Kurt.
Feels like your team has a lot of energy, a lot of momentum with fans this summer. I'm wondering, as team CEO, how do you capitalize on that?
Thankfully, we had built the sales engine over the last 2 years in some of the toughest of circumstances to be ready to regrow our fan base, which everybody knows had ebbed over the last decade plus. We have our Salesforce meetings. We've got incentives right across our Salesforce, and so the infrastructure and machine is built. And now that the momentum is there, we just have to 2x, 3x the number of engagements and touch points with our fans. You saw what we did at training camp this year. We made a $2 million investment to be able to house fans in a professionalized environment, give more activation to our sponsors, and that's paid dividends in season ticket sales. We've been running consistently since training camp started at 8 to 10x our normal rate of ticket sales for this period. We, a week ago, surpassed our total sales number across ticketing and suites for all of 2022 for 2023 a week and a half or so ago. We're continuing to figure out if we continue at this pace, especially in premium and suites, look ahead to pulling back office space so that we can create more premium and suite space in the stadium. Now, we still got some work to do in the bowl. That tends to be a consistent build with season ticket sales in the off season, but game one and single game tickets are going well. So I'm excited, and I'm excited for new owners because this is really due to the fresh breath that our fans have caught with them purchasing the team, and also their willingness to invest, because they're already getting behind some of the investment needs that have long been in place in order to have the experience at FedEx Field and even the approach to engaging our fans in the right place. And it's also credit to the staff that I promised 3 years ago, without really knowing how it was going to go, that we would get to the other side of this and we would be in an environment where the fan base would come back. And I'm really happy for them that they get to experience it now.
And how about on the sponsor side? What have those conversations been like for you with current partners and potentially new partners?
Well, I'd say for current partners, it is a sense of relief and a sense of gratitude for supporting them through this. As you can imagine, we had many tough conversations over the last 3 years, and I'm just thinking in my head some of our marquee and anchor partners that really challenged us with tough questions as we were in the headlines every other week. And when they pushed and pressed, they were satisfied with the organization we were building and were willing to lock arms with us and look to the future. So for them, it's a sense of relief. And for us, we are responding to that with a proper sense of partnership. We are now able to go to the market and do deals like everybody else, which feels fantastic. Although I wish it would happen a little earlier in the sales cycle, but we are where we are. We're going to get it done. But those partners that have been with us all along, it's important for us to pay it back to them. And maybe a couple of those deals, the asset value to overall deal ratio is a little in their favor, but that's all right. And we'll go to market and we'll have above rate deals with our new partners to make up for it. But I'm grateful to all of them for sticking by us. And for new folks, it's exciting because they see the fan base coming back. This is an inherently diverse area, which is what attracts sponsors to it uniquely above some of the other NFL and other league markets. Our fan base leans women, it leans minority, it leans international, just simply because of where we are in the history of this team. And so as a result, it's a marketing goldmine for a lot of these brands that are trying to reach everybody in one broad swath. And so we'll be announcing some very cool partnerships in the coming weeks. I'll let you guys know.
And Josh Harris has talked about improving the game day experience. What does that look like for fans?
This is probably the biggest shift from how we were operating before. We were always looking ahead to the new venue and thinking about how to continue to incrementally improve FedEx Field. But Josh has described it as welcoming people into his home. Right, and that's it's hard pressed for us to completely turn everything around that we want to turn around in the 6 weeks leading up to the season since he purchased the team. But we're going to do some things. I think number one, it focuses on the entertainment experience beyond what's happening on the field. There's a bevy of new owners with a very diversified experience in sports media entertainment, and all of them bring a unique lens on hospitality, whether it's small scale, higher end, but distinctive experiences like the Glenstone Art Gallery that Mitch Rales runs, to the Valida City Open that Mark Iron runs, to the various properties that Magic Johnson's been a part of, to what David Blitzer has done and they're getting ready to do to transform Prudential Center. We have a wealth of experience to draw on as we do this, and this team is not afraid to invest. We're not afraid to invest, even as we still look to the future and a world-class new venue experience.
Well, you mentioned some of the new owners, and they have a deep wealth of knowledge in sports, entertainment, facilities, finance, and it would seem to be a resource for you to tap. How do you take advantage of that?
It really is a treasure trove of expertise. Even just this weekend, I did an in-depth tour of the City Open here in DC and the way that they've transformed what is an aging infrastructure of a public park into a world-class tennis tournament with premium hospitality and using temporary spaces where infrastructure lacks. Just a whole new bevy of things at our arsenal that we also don't need to learn from scratch. And that's probably the biggest thing. There's many ideas that my team has had over the last few years that we haven't been able to execute because of whatever restrictions were in place. But now we can execute some of that, and we don't have to figure it out for ourselves, because we can lean on the folks at Harris Blitzer and see what they've done in food and beverage and what they're currently doing at food and beverage at Prudential. We can lean on Mark and the City Open. We can, when we're thinking about ancillary development, Magic Johnson Enterprises has done multiple multi-use development efforts. And so we don't have to come from scratch. We can get access to experts really quickly, and that is helpful for us for speed and efficiency's sake, which is what we're all bought in on. Josh from the top, like, this turnaround needs to come at pace, and we are all working to see the maximum jump that we can see in 2023, which means we need to get some of these things in place, because when people come in for the first time, our theme for this year is welcome home. We're welcoming our fans home after being gone for some time. As we welcome people home, we want the experience to be different in a noticeable way, so that they choose to come back, especially those single game folks that are going to be there for Arizona. We want them back for the rest of the year. Our season ticket holders, they're tried and true. We got them. But we need those single game folks to buy in, to see that it's something they can make memories with their family, that feels like the team of old, and then that's how we start to rebuild. And I expect next offseason will be the biggest leap forward in our season ticket member base that we've had in 2 decades, and I'm excited about that.
Great. Well, Jason, thanks so much for joining us today and sharing your insights.
Of course, Kurt. My pleasure.
We are joined by Greg Beadles, president of the Atlanta Falcons. Greg, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kurt. Glad to be here.
You've been with the club for nearly 30 years and certainly have seen a lot of changes in the business of the NFL. But I'm wondering on the local side, how that business has evolved in relation to running a stadium.
Is that a nice way of trying to say I'm old, Kurt?
We've both been around for a few years. That's a fair point.
Yeah, no, this is my 29th season in the NFL, and as you mentioned, things have changed dramatically. Obviously on the national front, driven in large part by the media contracts that you guys and others have covered very well, but also on the local side. And the biggest thing there is really the way that stadium economics has changed over the last few decades. The way that they have really become revenue generators, both for NFL games and in a lot of cases, ours as an example, with a lot of other events. So at Mercedes-Benz Stadium this year, we'll have 50 plus major ticketed events. Of course, our 10 plus games, hopefully plus in the playoffs. Our Atlanta United soccer team, we just had EPL here for their summer series, had a doubleheader with them. We had Taylor Swift, we have Beyonce coming for 3 nights this month. So it's just a major event center, which is a great thing for our community, but it's also good for us in being able to generate more revenues. Certainly by an exponential number from when I started way back when.
And what I keep hearing from talking to teams in the NFL, as well as other leagues, is fans want more premium experiences. Your stadium's relatively new, but I'm wondering how you address that kind of situation.
Absolutely. So our stadium, we call it, it was built very social. That was the way that we designed it. Sometimes, folks aren't quite into the football game as much as we'd like, and we need to improve that on the field, and we are to keep their attention. But it's built so that folks can bring guests, corporate clients can be there. We obviously have plenty of seats for our fans that are hardcore and into the game, but just as you said, more premium is desired. So we're actually, going into our seventh year in the building and already looking at making some changes to make it better. And a big part of it is to add more tiers of premium. So if you look at the newer stadiums, which we have, of course, with SoFi and out in Las Vegas, a good job that those guys have done is to have more levels of premium. So we always use an example in the airline industry with our great partner Delta with Comfort Plus. When they created that, there's another level in between coach and in between first class. And so we already had a few different levels, but it's something we were seeing as an opportunity. So last year we added what we call the terrace suites. So actually down on the field, 4 big suites that folks can come and enjoy the game. They're very high end. They're sort of a see and be seen type of thing. So hardcore football folks, you're trying to look over 6'5" players the whole time. Fortunately, we have our Halo board, so a lot of people are watching the game up there, but they're just getting an unbelievable game day experience right down in the middle of all of it. So there's a demographic that loves that. And then we're building on our 200 level, so the second level up in our end zone, looking towards what we call our window to the city. 5 new suites that are very similar to that, but they have a great view of the field. So a lot of hospitality can happen there, but it's also open to the main concourse, so there's a lot of the energy from the game day there. So just trying to find, loge box type of environment, something sort of in between a suite and a club seat. And so we're continuing to look at that over the next few years as we make Mercedes-Benz Stadium even better than it already is.
And you mentioned all the non-NFL events at Mercedes-Benz. I'm wondering how you integrate those with corporate sponsors, which obviously is a big part of the NFL business.
Yep. So most of our sponsors are interested in all of the inventory we have. And when I say that, Atlanta United, the Atlanta Falcons, and then all the other events at MBS. So Mercedes-Benz Stadium has inventory that's just their inventory. So the college football games that we have, the concerts, the international soccer matches that we have. So most of them, some of them want to skew a little bit more towards Atlanta United and have lesser Falcon inventory, and some are completely the opposite. So it's great for us to have all that inventory, because then we can present to the sponsors, hey, here's our sort of cafeteria plan of what we have available. What are you going after? What clients are you looking to serve? And we can tailor it to their desires rather than us just having one option, packaging it up and say, hey, take it or leave it.
Excellent. Well, Greg, thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you, Kurt.
We're happy to have Kevin Demoff join Sportico for a few minutes to talk about the NFL. Kevin is the COO of the Los Angeles Rams and the team's top front office exec. Thanks for joining us, Kevin.
Great to be here, Kurt. Always good to talk business of football.
Love it. I get asked this question all the time, so I'm going to throw it to you. What would a Super Bowl mean for the business of an NFL team? We're only about 18 months out from the Rams winning the Super Bowl, so have at it.
It'd be better if you didn't go 5-12 the next year. I can't promise you that. Yeah, I think it all depends on the life cycle of your team and where you're at. It was terrific to win a Super Bowl. We saw upticks in every metric. But at the same time, we had just opened a brand new stadium, in Los Angeles. And so, I think we were already pretty much close to our optimal business state going into the Super Bowl year in our first year of fans with SoFi Stadium, in terms of we had a naming rights partner locked in for a long term. We had stadium partners locked in for a long term. So I'd say we had sold PSLs and the building was sold out basically. So we didn't have a ton of place for variable growth in revenue. The one place we probably did was partnerships, which we saw a significant lift. And, she's not new anymore. She came in just before the Super Bowl run, but our chief commercial officer, Jen Prince, has done an amazing job in her team of really growing that side of the business, which was, I think, the place we had the most growth opportunity, and we've been able to take advantage. But, the Super Bowl, I think your lag effect is just greater fan happiness, greater overall brand exposure and excitement. But you have to be able to capitalize it on the next year. We didn't do a great job on the field, so now here we are coming off a third place finish, and no one ever asks you what a third place finish in the NFC West does for business, do they?
No, they don't. No, they don't. You bring up SoFi, and I think a lot of fans, when they think Rams, they think SoFi. And we have a lot of NFL teams looking at stadium projects right now, and you guys have built what I think many would see as kind of the prototype for what a stadium should be in the NFL. And I'm wondering, you must have teams hitting you up. How does that process work in terms of teams coming to you about what kind of options and what you guys did?
Look, I think the most important thing when you're looking to build a new stadium or renovate a stadium is to do what's right for your market. SoFi Stadium is wonderful for Los Angeles. It wouldn't work in so many other markets. You wouldn't even try it, for its even the size. Like, I don't know how many people would build 70,000 plus seat stadiums anymore, for the NFL. So I think when people come, we always try to walk them through the intent of what we were trying to do, the spaces we created, who they were created for, the general fan, and making sure they have the best ingress, egress, food and beverage options. You're really trying to walk through the intent of the stadium, and then try to drive, with other teams, where are their pain points, right? Is it parking? Is it gates? Is it premium spaces? Is it, vertical transportation with elevators? And I think once you get into those conversations, you get into much more granular than how do you just build the newest and biggest and greatest stadiums. There are some people who want to talk about that, but most are looking at, practical solutions around fan experience, how we thought about it, and how they can translate it to their market. And I think that's absolutely the right way to look at it.
Great. Well, that's perfect. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck this season.
My pleasure. Hopefully next year we can revisit the what a Super Bowl win, does for your business conversation.
You got it. Would love to. Thanks so much.
Great. Thanks.
I'm joined today by Mark Lamping, president of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mark, thanks so much for joining me today.
It's great to be asked, Kurt.
So give our listeners a sense of how long you've been working on this stadium project in Jacksonville.
Well, we started the public dialogue back in 2016. Obviously, we wanted to get way ahead of the pending stadium replacement need, so that we didn't find ourselves in a situation that some teams have found themselves where they get to the end of their lease and there's no stadium solution. And that is a recipe sometimes for bad outcomes. So we wanted to get way ahead of it. Started the public dialogue back in 2016, and then 3 years ago, we started a formal process in partnership with the city of Jacksonville, and that 3-year process led to what we announced recently, and then followed with 14 public comment events that we had throughout the area, and now in a position to begin negotiations.
So what does this renovation look like for both the team and the city?
Well, most importantly, if we're able to get a successful agreement, it'll ensure NFL football in Northeast Florida for generations to come. The existing stadium is reaching the end of its useful life. The stadium is owned by the city of Jacksonville. The city of Jacksonville has a responsibility to maintain it. They have the responsibility to invest in capital, and if there is a decision to replace or major renovations to that stadium, it's really on the city. And in this particular case, the city has a willing partner that is prepared, thanks to Shad Khan, to invest hundreds of millions of dollars into a publicly owned stadium. So, our interests are aligned. Both parties want to get to a yes, but saying that and doing it, is two different things.
And so this is more than just inside the stadium, right? You're talking about development in and around the stadium as well.
Absolutely. We want the stadium to be as successful as it can be. And one of the things we're really lacking around the stadium is things for people to do, before the event, the day before. Downtown Jacksonville has an incredible opportunity to realize something closer to its full potential, but it's nowhere near there now. And we want the stadium to be successful. If Shad is going to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in this publicly owned facility, he wants to make sure it's successful. So that means it will be the type of stadium that would attract other major events. And until we can make promises to those parties that control those events that there's plenty of things to do for their customers who pay their hard-earned money to travel to Jacksonville, that there's adequate hotels, there's restaurants, there's other entertainment downtown. So what we're trying to do is address both the stadium and get the infrastructure in place so that stadium can be as successful as it can be.
Got it. I found it interesting reading about your plans. The capacity is actually being reduced from the current capacity. What goes into that kind of decision?
Well, we have a sort of a unique situation here that we have a really important event that happens each year in the stadium, the Florida-Georgia game. And traditionally, those schools have wanted to have capacity of over 80,000. The Jaguars don't need anywhere near 80,000, and our current capacity when we add standing room gets us to about 67,000. That's more seats than we need in a week in, week out basis. So our base capacity for the new design is 62,000, which we think is plenty. But integrated into the design are 10,000 seats that are already in the stadium, but can be made available for Florida, Georgia. And if we get to a case where we need more than 62,000 seats for Jaguar games, we'll have someplace we can go that is not expensive to be able to do that. These are not seats that are brought from outside into the stadium. They're seats that exist but are recessed into the superstructure. Got
it. You had a great year on the field, 2022. You have a rising star, Trevor Lawrence. I'm wondering what, for a club like Jacksonville, what does winning on the field mean off the field for you guys?
Well, it means about everything. We've been able to have consistent local revenue growth, but we haven't, other than 2018, had the benefit of a playoff team to be selling against. But we've invested in the revenue infrastructure. We've invested, most importantly, in our staff. What we really needed was to have that spark of a winning team, and that's happened. This is the best off season that we've had, and the most important and interesting thing is that the Jaguars are one of the youngest franchises in the National Football League, and about half the people that live in Northeast Florida are not from the state of Florida. They've moved down here, like myself. So a lot of people come down here with their own NFL allegiances when they arrive. And right now, we're getting to the point, having been here 28 years, that we're developing our own fans, this Generation Jaguar, as we call it, and they have really turned out big time this off season. At the end of last year, the average age of our season ticket holder was about just under 55 years old. We've sold a ton of season tickets this off season. The average age of the purchaser is 32 years old. So we're going to see the average age of our season ticket holder drop from the mid-50s to the mid-40s in one off season. And that might be an indication that this Generation Jaguar has finally arrived here in Jacksonville.
Wow, that's incredible. That's unbelievable. And how about on the corporate side? Sponsors like a winner too, right?
No, really good. I mean, we're overall growth on the ticket side as well as the corporate sponsorship side is over 25% year over year. So, we're having great growth, and we have great people that work here. They just haven't had the best on-field product to be able to sell against. And we did have success last year. Came as a bit of a surprise to many. And one of the challenges with that is how do you make sure you take full advantage of it? And we were never lacking on the creativity or the work ethic or are the resources. And now as we go into next year, hope has transitioned to expectation, and everybody's excited, and I certainly think we're up to the task.
Great. Well, Mark, thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
All right, Kurt, thank you very much. Take care.